CFL Talk. He's David Morassutti. Oh boy, David. Well, we're here. We're at the penultimate game to the Grey Cup. The decision this weekend will be made who will represent the East and the West.
Yeah, it's probably arguably last year. I remember everyone saying that was arguably one of the better weekends of football the CFL had was the finals, the East and the West final. I think we're in for a great weekend of football. I think this is what we wait all 18 games for. Yeah, the first round of the playoffs is a little bit of that, but this is the one where you're just like, there's a little more, there's a little more mystery to these games than the last week's games.
Absolutely. We're going to get Mike Hogan coming in here in a second. He's adjusting his camera because he wants to look pretty. You know, the forever pro is all I can say about Mike Hogan. Great guy, very cooperative, and has been a guy who has promoted CFL football for years. Even when he didn't work for the Argos, he's always been a pro Canadian Football League guy.
Yes, he is, and very, it's a very important, probably one of the more important weekends of the Argos season, without sounding too obvious.
I'm an abashed CFL fan, and I'm not ashamed for 1 second to say that, you know what, this weekend I had some conversations, and we'll have to check with Mike on whether there's any accuracy to this thing that I've learned. The Toronto Argonauts, through their long, illustrious, winning career, I might add, have never had, Mike, $1 million gate.
Not true.
They have had $1 million gate?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I believe it was, we were talking about this yesterday in a meeting, the first Ricky Williams game.
Oh, wow.
So 2005.
Okay.
I believe that's the, I don't know how many they had at Rogers Center. I honestly don't know, or Sky Dome, depending on which year it was. But I was led to believe that was the last $1 million gate. Was Ricky Williams in 2005.
You can assume why I'm bringing that up.
No, I'd love to hear your assumption.
Well, this could be the first time it happens since then.
Could be.
Right? I don't want to jinx it or anything, but
no, I don't know. I don't know where we are right now. I think that was one of the goals of the organization, to get there. I don't know average ticket price, but if we're not there, we got to be close.
What you are close to, in fact, you're there. You're opening the upper bowl.
Oh, it's open. It's wide open, and it's more than half full. We're getting there. It's if we're not at 25,000 yet, it's very, 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 very close. So yeah, we're making great headway. I went up to the seats today and went up 25 or so rows at midfield, and they're still really good seats.
Yeah, absolutely.
Outstanding vantage point. So if you're thinking of getting a ticket at argonauts.ca, the easiest way to get it. Yeah, the seats are great. I'm a guy that likes to sit high for football, so I can see the full field. I can see how things develop. Maybe that puts me in the minority, but it's going to be such an atmosphere on Saturday. It doesn't matter where you sit. You're going to be surrounded by Argo fans. We'll have a few Alouette fans there. I don't know how many, but it'll be 90 to 95% Argo fans, I would assume. It's going to be a great atmosphere. The Trews are playing. It's going to be a really fun afternoon.
Yeah, CFL fans who follow the Argos, for example, to Hamilton, the Trews have played a lot of Hamilton things. In fact, they were at the Grey Cup last year. I think they played around town.
Yeah,
they're very CFL friendly.
We figured this would be the only way there would be Hamilton representation at the Eastern Final. So we're just kind of reaching out and being nice neighbors.
Yeah, nothing like rubbing it. I mean, I said that out loud. Sorry, I didn't.
Gotta have some fun. Gotta have some fun with the rivalry. It's been a few days. It's not too.
What can you do? The Argos suck from the Grey Cup.
That's
all right,
exactly right.
So I got to tell you, David, why don't you jump in? I laid my first egg.
Well, I mean, Mike, when you look at this game, this whole season has been building towards this moment. As soon as the Argos went on this run, they clinched first place. everything has led up to this game. Has that excitement really started to kick in? I know the players have been trying to keep things kind of level, the one and no mentality, but do you feel like it's kicked in with the organization, just how exciting this game, the potential of this game?
With the organization, absolutely, from top to bottom. MLSE has been beyond spectacular with the Toronto Argonauts this year. I mean, great. Couldn't ask for a better owner. It's trickled down. I don't think everybody was on board when this team was purchased 5-6 years ago now, 2018, when it became fully MLSE, but everybody's on board. I guess anecdotally, there's a thing called MLSE Expo every year where they invite all of the presidents of the teams to come and speak to all of the MLSE employees who want to come. This year it was held at Coca-Cola Coliseum. It's a big deal, and it was opened by the Grey Cup appearing on stage, and Cynthia Devine talking about how important the Argos had become to MLSE. Like it's just not lip service anymore. We saw how much the company invested in the 150th anniversary season and the 150th anniversary game. It's been great. It's spectacular. And, the resources that we have at our disposal, it's not, exclusive to the Argos. We share some things with TFC. We share some things with the Leafs. But the fact that we have access to this stuff, these people, these brilliant people who work for our company, it's been a godsend. I don't know where the Toronto Argonauts would be right now, in all honesty, without MLSE at the helm. So that's exciting. The players and coaches are all dialed in. The last 2 days of practice have been stellar. The crispness I saw at the bubble a couple of days ago at Lamport was maybe the highest tempo practice I've ever seen from an Argonaut team. Like, the receivers were going 150 miles an hour. It was incredible. I don't think I saw a pass dropped. The defense probably won yesterday. Today was a closed practice at BMO Field, and again, there were some exceptionally good plays on both sides. Special teams had a very good day as well. So everybody's ready for Saturday. There's no question about that.
Is Enoch Mwamba a definite no-go for the rest of the season?
We'll find out tomorrow when the depth chart comes out.
Okay, so it's not said. I get all kinds of phone calls about him.
Oh, I bet. Because Enoch is such a fantastic player, but let's be honest, right now, as good as Enoch has been, if you're going to bring a guy in after not being on the active roster all season, who are you going to take out of the lineup?
Absolutely.
And that's no knock on Enoch at all. Enoch's been a great player, great leader. He's been there for the Argonauts all year, even though he hasn't been on the field. He was obviously the MVP and the most valuable Canadian at the Grey Cup last year. It's just, this is such a deep lineup. How/why would you mess with the chemistry at this point?
And
that's the issue.
I talked to Coach today, and it was brought up about Robertson Daniel. Like, yeah, he's healthy, he's back, but it's also you're throwing him right into the fire after him having so many games off and making sure that he is ready to go. And of course, who are you taking out, right? Because having Robertson Daniel is vital for his veteran experience and what he can do in the turnover department. But this is also a very important game because of it's a one and done in a lot of ways. So you don't want to put that much pressure on him if you don't need to.
And who do you take out of the lineup? Mason Pierce is playing at an all-star level. Quantez Stiggers is playing at an all-star level. He may be the best cornerback in the league as he's developed. So those, I guess, would be one of the guys you think of. Do you take out Tavares McFadden? No. Who's gone from this ball hawk in university to being this, this sledgehammer in the middle of the field right now. Mechie, Peters, like, who are you going to take out? You're not going to take anybody out because the secondary is playing so well. And I think when you look at there are two units where cohesion is so imperative: offensive line and defensive secondary. And right now the secondary is great, and that's not a knock on Robertson Daniel. He played a little more than half a season, and he's an all-star, all CFL player, and deservedly so. But what do you do? Who do you take out? I don't know why you'd mess with things right now, because things are going so well.
The depth has been since Pinball's taken over. That's one of the things that he he basically said, because this team is not built to win one year, it's built to be a consistent winner, and he's been true to his word. And he's, we can all talk about stuff like that, but the execution of making that plan happen isn't easy. But the Argos have made it look at least possible, it seems, these last 3 years.
Yeah, it's Mike, and I've told the story before, so if you've heard it before, bear with me. But in our first meeting with Mike as general manager, he sat us down in the boardroom, the football ops people, and said, the goal of this organization is to be as boring as possible. And we kind of looked at him, well, what do you mean? So we want to do the right thing all the time, to the point where people expect us to do the right thing all the time. And from the players, from the coaching staff, from the personnel department to the staff, I think everybody buys into that. It's like the 1-0 mentality, but in a big picture. And that I think we try to do the right thing all the time, and I think we've been from top to bottom, we've been accurate doing that more often than not.
When you consider, and I spoke with Chad Kelly at practice, and somebody was asking me afterwards, "Oh, how did Kelly sound?" I said, "Sounds like a guy who's dialed in." I asked him, when was the last time you played a one and done game, or started a one and done game? Because the last time he played was in the Grey Cup, but started a one and done game. And he's like, "We're gonna throw bowl games into it. It's 2015."
Yeah,
I said, "This looks like a guy who's chomping at the bit for this opportunity."
no question. And he's gotten the individual accolades, being up for the MOP this year. He's the CFL All-Star quarterback, which I think surprised some people out west. And he's led his team to a 16-2 record. He's 15-1 as a starter, 15-0 in games that he started and finished. And played at least a half. He's done everything and more that people expected. I know. Mac was spectacular last year. He led the league in passing, led us to a Grey Cup, was a wonderful leader, great player, great teammate. But when he decided to go home for family reasons, I don't think there was a person in the building that didn't think, okay, we're great. We're in fine shape. Chad, we know Chad can play. Everybody in that organization knew Chad could play. I don't know anybody expected 15-1. But I don't think there's anybody surprised that he has played to the caliber that he has and the level that he has, because he looked so good when given the opportunity. And we saw him every day in practice last year. Mind you, he's playing with and against the twos, but there's something special there. And this year, I think everybody's getting a firsthand look at that.
Coach Dinwiddie over there by the place where the Leafs play when they had the big reception for winning the Grey Cup told us then that even before McLeod Bethel Thompson was done as an Argo, he literally said that this kid could take over. Because I asked him what he thought of Chad Kelly. He said he could be our starting quarterback next year. So this doesn't just go back to training camp. This goes back even before.
Oh, yeah. We didn't know what Mac was going to do at the end of the season last year. And there was a good chance that he was going to go home because, he's a young father, young family. Missed his partner and his daughter to the nth degree, and just wanted to go home. And who can blame him? He did what he had to do up here. He became a starting quarterback. He found a home here. He proved he could win a championship, and did. And good for him. And we miss Mac up here. He's one of my favorite guys to ever come through here. But on the field, we don't miss him because Chad is an equal. And in some instances, and some parts of his skill set, he's better than Mac. So that's not a knock on McLeod. We've got a very special quarterback here in Toronto right now who led us to a very special season that isn't over yet. And we're, if we go 1-0 this week, we get an opportunity to repeat. And that's all we expected and all we wanted at the beginning of the season.
Yeah, nothing phases Kelly. His emotions you don't see his emotions rise in any way. He's very level-headed.
Yeah, and that's he's as intense as anybody, and we've seen some animated conversations with Ryan Dinwiddie on the sidelines. But I think anybody who has been around Chad knows he wants to win. He's going to do anything to win. He's worked as hard, if not harder, than anybody on the team. As Dinwiddie said, over the course of the offseason, we had to kick him out of the facility, and he was only half joking. He was in there all the time. He was up here in Toronto, working with receivers in the bubble or in a facility in the off season. He came to play. He came to win. He came to prove that he could prove some of the doubters wrong, and he has. He's been better than advertised.
David, he also told us about working out with certain players, and those players have had good seasons because of that.
Yeah, I mean, you build a rapport, you build trust with certain players. Deshaun Brissett was the first one. I think in training camp at Guelph, I asked him how he feels Deshaun Brissett can take that step. He's like, "Oh, I know because I worked with the guy each and every day." That's something when you have a younger quarterback like Chad Kelly who's went through this, he can elevate these guys because he has that rapport already.
Who are Max guys? He had Chandler Worthy before he went to Montreal because they had worked together as backups. And then Curly Gittens elevated his game because he and Mac were so tight and on the same page. And this year, who was Chad working with last year? Coxie, Brissett, right? And look who the guys are this year who are here. Coxie and Brissett. Tommy Neild has had a really good season. And, I even threw this at Tommy today because it's a story that I'm going to put out tomorrow on our website. In the games against Montreal this year, Tommy Neild was the leading receiver. Like you think about the games that Coxie had, you think about the game especially that Unger had. Tavares Daniels played in all three. Tommy Neild played in 2 games, had 13 catches. He's been that guy that's flown under the radar all year. Missed quite a bit of the year. He had a concussion at one point, was on the 6th game. But Tommy Neild's game has elevated so much this year that, he's also a guy that knows the playbook inside and out and can play all 5 positions. So, that he's been such an unsung hero this year. And against Montreal this year, he was stellar.
The depth there is too much. It's amazing. Unger comes in from the Hamilton and then he takes his chance and makes it work too. They have this magic touch. I guess that I don't want to bring up Calgary, but I'm going to. We all knew Calgary was next man up mentality. They constantly every year a guy turn up, somebody go, and then the guy turn up. Along with Dinwiddie, I think that came here. I think that's the biggest strength that Toronto has is that the next man up mentality really is. It's sunk in here in this organization.
I thought Dinwiddie put it perfectly. I don't know if you saw the video from the locker room after the win in Ottawa. And he said, we don't have backups here. We have everybody in this room can start. We just don't have enough spots to get you on the field.
Exactly.
And how often has that been proven? Player A goes down, player B comes up and excels. Pierce, Stiggers, Neild, Brissett, Unger. How many thought Sirocco would start this year? But when he had the opportunity, he's an all-star, all CFL player. We knew he was good, but everybody assumed Bladek was going to be back. McCaskill would be at center. Excuse me, I'm just getting over a virus. But Bladek has been able to play all year. And the offensive line had its best year ever.
I'm getting over the same one. So
I really apologize, and I apologize.
No, please don't apologize. It's that time of year. Even if you need a chance to get some water, please do that.
Yeah.
Take care of yourself. I want to talk about somebody because we're talking about players and we're talking about not just players. Player development's important, but it's also the seeds, the players that you bring up. Murphy paid a deep price for a mistake that he made. The organization have seen fit as a family member who made a mistake. And I'm sorry if I sound like I'm soft peddling this, but it's what I feel. He was given a chance to come back. He earned his right to come back. He did what he needed to do to change. And this organization owes a lot to him and what he's brought into this team.
He's brought in players. Vince Magri, Alex Russell have been ridiculously good. Pinball Clemens okaying everything. Like it's a 4-man department. Sometimes a coach will get a tap on the shoulder from somebody they know stateside saying, hey, I've got a guy that's not fitting on my NFL team. I think he could play up there for you. The Quantez Stiggers thing was amazing. He was playing in the fan-controlled football league for John Jenkins, who had coached in Toronto on 2 different occasions. Jenks phoned up Murph and said, hey, have I got a guy for you? And it turned out to be Stiggers, and it's turned out to be a godsend. Jenks lives up here as well in the off season, so he has an affinity for the Argonaut organization, has a friendship with Murph, and that's just having that network. And not being afraid to bring in guys from other non-traditional spots. I did a story last week on Mason Pierce, or this week, I guess, and Vince Magri said, I learned a long time ago, not you scout the player, not the helmet. And he found a kid playing for the Colorado School of Mines to come up here and play. And Pierce has been remarkable so far. So, you know, all of those lines in the water, sometimes, you know, you get a good bite on one, and the Argos have done that basically nonstop.
Yeah, I mentioned it because I like Murphy. He's always been a real approachable guy and a real calming influence when it comes to talking about football. He's very calm about when he talks about it, even when he's excited about a player or a team. He sat out after a game talking to David and I for, I don't know, how long was it, David?
Good 20 minutes before Chris was like, you want
Time
me
to
to get
go.
rid of these guys? No, like, you want me to get rid of these guys? No, Murphy is very stand up.
So we're glad that he worked things out, David.
Well, if you talked to him for 20 minutes, you probably asked him one question.
I don't think we asked him a question. I think we just said,
that's Murphy.
Yeah. I'm kidding. We did ask him a question or two.
Kogi, one question I have is Andrew Harris. I didn't get a chance to see him in practice because it was a close practice. How is he looking for the, you know, being out for so long?
He looks great. It's like last year. Don't forget, he came off the 6-game injured list, his first game back, and he was on more than 6 games. Don't forget, because I think he got hurt in one of the Hamilton games last year. I don't know if it was Labor Day or the first game in Hamilton, and he came back way ahead of expectations and scored his first touchdown of the season as an Argo. His first touchdown as an Argo in the Eastern Final last year. They had the two-headed monster with him and AJ Ouellette, and I don't know if Montreal was expecting that or didn't know how to handle both of them on the field at the same time. So we'll see how the two are deployed tomorrow. Will it be heavy AJ? Will it be heavy Andrew? Or on Saturday? Or will it be a combination of the two, like it was last year in the Eastern Final? I'm as curious as anybody to see how that goes this week.
I mean, Ryan also did say that, you know, he expects Montreal to force them to run the football, and you know what? Last year was kind of the same way too. They tried to make them run the ball, and it turned out to be the thing that gave the Argos that momentum they needed right off the start.
Well, it worked against Hamilton this past weekend.
Oh, so, you know, Montreal also plays a lot of 30 front, right? The three down linemen and 4 linebackers. So at times that can really be an advantage to a couple of power runners like Ouellette and Harris. Or, you know, does it just get additional speed on the field to come up and make those tackles? We'll find out. But I don't think Montreal's going to go away from what it does so well. And they really love using that 3 down lineman set.
And there's the Argo length.
Yeah, the offensive line's great here. You know, they've been great all year, and I don't see any reason they won't be again on Saturday.
Listen, I know you're not feeling well. David, if you have another question for him, I'll let you ask the last question. We'll let him go take care of himself. He's got some busy days in front of him.
He's got to get that voice
ready. And he's got to take care of that golden throat of his.
I got the game on Saturday, so I apologize. It's been good all for the last 2 or 3 days, and of course the coughing jag starts as soon as I come on the air with you guys. Maybe I'm allergic to you guys. Maybe that's what it is.
Very much could be. I was at BMO Field today.
I don't like
it was cold. My hands were blue.
It was fun. It was great. Oh, but if I may,
yeah, go.
For people who are coming to the game on Saturday, get there early. Plan ahead. The Royal Winter Fair is underway.
Yeah.
And that means a lot of horsies, and horsies need trailers. And the one part of the southern parking lot is totally booked off for horse trailers. Likewise, there's a lot over at Ontario Place. And there's going to be a lot of people watching. There's a couple of different horse shows, plus the other part of the Royal Winter Fair on Saturday. Get there early. If you can take transit, take transit. Don't forget, Go offers that 10-day full weekend pass. I think it's $10, and you can ride all weekend, $10 or $15. So pick up one of those, and you can, you know, back and forth from wherever you're coming from. It's a really good deal, and it lets you off a 2-minute walk from the stadium. So if you can take transit. It's probably the best way to do it. And there's also going to be 25 plus there on Saturday, which means lineups are going to be longer than usual.
Yeah.
Get there early. The Remembrance Day ceremony starts at 3 o'clock, pretty much sharp. So plan to get there early. Get in your seats early. The Trues have a pretty remarkable Remembrance Day song that may be a part of the pregame. So just make sure you're there. Come, be loud, bring your voice, and go Argos.
Now, is BMO going to allow the Montreal fans to bring in the pump horns,
I don't
which
know.
Argo
I don't know.
fans aren't allowed to do?
Bring it on.
Okay.
Bring it.
And the tailgating, that's not affected too badly by
The
the parking.
It'll be closer to the old Marine Museum, the Stanley Barracks, where the signing was for the 150. It'll just be kind of a little bit further east than where it normally is,
So
but it'll be in the same lot.
It'll be moved up along the fence to Lakeshore.
Get there early. That's I
really.
can't stress that
friends
enough.
I got friends who already said, Frank, we're making a brisket. We're
Oh,
starting.
good.
At 6.
Tell them to get there
starting
early.
At 6.
Sir, I
6
can't stress this strongly enough. Get there early. If you plan to be there at 2:30, be there at 2 o'clock.
There you go.
I don't want anybody to miss any of the game. I don't want to hear complaints after the game. Well, we couldn't get through in time. Well, what do? Do you expect to drive up, park your car at 3 o'clock, and walk in when there's 25,000 people there?
That's what David and I were thinking.
Yeah, no. just plan to be there really early, and it's better to be 20 minutes early than 1 minute late.
How excited are you? I gave David a last question. This is my last question. How excited are you to call this game?
I get excited calling, the middle of August. But the fact that this is a chance to go back to the Grey Cup, it just means a little bit more. And I'm excited as a fan. I'm excited as a broadcaster. I'm excited as a communications manager. This is what everybody has planned for all year. This is, why we write the stories and do all of the off season work and do the media guide and get everything ready. This is why we do what we do in the off season. This is why the players do the road work and lift the weights. This is why the coaches, spend 6 months of the year away from their family. It's to go out and play in the Eastern Final. Here's your check mark every year: make the playoffs, clinch a home game in the playoffs, clinch first place, win the final, go to the Grey Cup, win the Grey Cup. And there are 3 boxes to be checked, and they can do 2 of those tomorrow or Saturday. Sorry, with the win in the Eastern Final, win there, get to the Grey Cup, and then there's just one more 1-0 to go.
I'll answer your first question of the evening, David. How excited are the players? And I'll add the coaches and the fans when they come out of that tunnel. And if there's 25,000 people in the stands, as excited as you've been in past games, this is going to be amazing. And I'm looking forward to hearing that. And I'll be honest with you. I'll be honest with both of you. I am sick and tired of hearing people talk about Argo fans. And this is going to be an awesome bit of an experience that we can all actually reflect on and say, do you remember being at that game? And it'll probably continue next year. It's been a great job. You're right. MLSC's done a great job. They did have a slow start. And, I look at it as a blended family. They're not all going to get along right away, not know exactly what's going on. There's a time where they have to work things out. And they really have. MLSC has really taken this Argo team and brought it into the fold. There were lots of questions before, a lot of them fair questions. But I think it's a good thing that MLSC bought the team, and I think they're happy with the team too. Nothing looks good like a ring on an owner's finger.
Oh, but Larry Tannenbaum is a legitimate Argo fan who has been going to Argo games his whole life. Dale Lastman is a bigger fan, and Mr. Tannenbaum loves coming with his grandkids to the game. He is not a stranger at Argo games. He keeps a very low profile, as does Mr. Lastman. But they, as the 2 big wigs, they are both legitimate Toronto Argonaut fans. And sometimes I think fans don't appreciate that there is an absolute personal connection with MLSE and the Argos.
Yeah, my problem was I was so close to the Argos and understanding the situation as a season ticket holder, and someone was following them very closely. I know how low the bar was when they bought the team. Mm-hmm. People may forget, but this team played home games in Hamilton and in Guelph. It's not exactly
and in Ottawa and in
Ottawa, yeah.
Alberta.
Keep going. Like that's where they've come from, and they've done a marvelous job rising up. And it's the love of the game of people like Pinball Clemens, who made a decision when he saw this team at its lowest point, decided, you know what, I don't have the time to do this. I have other things I want to do, but this matters that much to me that I'm going to be here and I'm going to do something about it.
He
And I want
said
to
no to Bill Manning multiple occasions before he took the job this time around, and we're all thankful he did, because there's a real positive culture in this organization, and the patriarch has a great deal to do with that, because despite being the horribly negative human being that Michael Clemens is, he's something else to work for. There's no question about that.
1-0, and we
1-0.
appreciate you. And
1-0.
we appreciate you.
Go Argos.
David, last for you, buddy.
Oh, I'm looking
You're
forward.
good?
Stay warm. Bring your toques.
David,
Yeah. Stay warm. Get there early. Transit if you can do it. 25K. It's going to be loud. Get there. Be a part of this event, and go Argos.
Thank you, Mike Hogan.
Thanks, guys. Again, I apologize for the cough. That was
Please
really
don't
rude.
apologize. I'm glad you decided to say yes. That was more important.
Okay,
so
guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He's Mike Hogan. You'll listen to him during the game on the radio on TSN 1050. All right. So that was a good interview. I only told him 10 minutes. So I hope, folks, if it sounded like I was trying to get rid of him, I wasn't trying to get rid of him. I told him we were only going to have him on for 10 minutes. And Mike, being the pro that he is, and when it comes, I guess he literally elevated my comment when I said he's a true blue CFL fan. And I think there's no mistaking it after that interview.
I say, and I say this, pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't throw this around lightly. He is the Argos encyclopedia.
You
can ask anything about this team that he's the walking Argos encyclopedia.
Absolutely. And a football fan as well, a Philadelphia Eagle fan. So,
you had to bring that up. You really had to bring that up with
an
me.
Eagles fan. Yeah, what are you going to do? I mean, hey, look, I'm not one of these people, and I know you're not either. And I think most football fans don't discriminate. Football is football. Canadian football, I follow. I'm dedicated to following. I love the game. I think it's the best. I think it's a better game than the NFL. But that doesn't take away from what the NFL has to offer. It's a great league as well and fun to watch. But I don't watch it in spite of the CFL. I watch it because of what it is. It's football. And if you love football, it really doesn't matter what kind of football it is. But we all have our priorities. Mine lies with the Canadian Football League. Biggest reason is we all live in Canada and we all have a team that we can drive to. That's an impossibility in most cases in Canada for the NFL.
I do think, I do think this is we talked about it last year, how last year with the crowd, it was a big moment for the organization. I think it's an even bigger one.
Oh, this is another rung. This organization and this team has done some things that if I would have said to you 3 years ago, you're not going to hear a Ticat fan say at a game, either in Hamilton or in Toronto, Argos suck. We haven't heard that for the last couple of years. If I were to say to you that there's going to be 25,000 people at a football game at BMO to watch the Argos play a visiting team, we might have hoped it, but I don't think we would have believed it. And finally, the third and the three, to see this team finish first 3 years in a row, 3 years ago, who would have thought that? Bringing in a rookie coach, you would have thought there would have been growth pains, all that kind of stuff. The judgment and decisions that this organization have made, they've hit 7-7-7 in the slots every time. And now that I've said this, there's going to be people going out there, oh boy, you're setting yourselves up to lose the big game. I just happen to think that there's one thing that overrides this organization more than anything. It's the family aspect of the team, and they really do love each other, and they create this team is a reflection of Pinball Clemens and his attitude.
Can I say the word that usually I hate hearing in sports, more so in hockey, because it gets over brought up in hockey, not enough about
dynasty
football team culture.
Oh, culture.
This is all about the culture that really the reason why Bill Manning really wanted pinball in as the GM, he knew the culture of the Argos needed to change. He wanted, this is a team that had won Grey Cups.
Oh,
They've won Grey Cups, but
more than their share.
how many teams go and win Grey Cups and then it's almost like, okay, so big whoop, right? I think when you look at what the Argos have done this year specifically, there's always going to be doubt. Nothing is ever absolute going into a game. But I think if you're the Argos, you look at the matchup on paper, there aren't many areas that you could say Montreal is significantly better that you say, you know what, we're going to have to really be careful about this because this could lose us the game. There aren't many areas on paper, but we already know that the game is not played on paper. The game is played on the field. And I just think these players have adopted a mentality that doesn't let the outside noise say anything. I think a couple years ago when they lost that East final to Hamilton, mentally just there were cracks, there were weaknesses. And what Ryan Dinwiddie has done in the 2 years since, he has patched, sealed all those as many of those cracks as he can. Right? I think that there were so many doubts about Ryan Dinwiddie as a head coach. No one's doubting him. No one is doubting him right now. And you see the work he's done. It's proven, right? The coaching staff he has to work with. It's a team effort. Not one person claims what the Argos have done. It's a collaborative effort.
Yeah, and then you have the four guys putting their heads together around the GM position. You've got that too, where you have the appropriate players being, well, next man up mentality. It is what it is. It helps you really. I mean, we talked about bringing players who are injured in, not bringing them in. What a tough decision for a head coach to make. He's already got a guy that's doing the job, and he's got a guy that's chomping at the bit. Man, that must be really hard to coach.
No, but if you're confident in your building, if you're confident in what you're in your relationship too, like I don't think that. I think there's an obvious understanding.
That was sarcasm.
Yeah, I know. There's an obvious understanding too, though, in those situations.
So we've got this Toronto Argonaut team. We've taken the time to talk. What's the team that we cover the most, that we cover in person? But that doesn't mean it's the only football team we care about. Montreal comes into Toronto with something to prove. They have made strides year after year. While the Argos have been finishing first the last 3 years, Montreal has been building a franchise, an organization, and a team that can compete with them, and they will give them more than the Argos can handle. They can give the Argos more than they can handle. What do you think they have to do, Montreal, to beat Toronto?
I think there's a couple of things, and I was asked about this today. Griff, who also covers the team, asked me this, and I said, really, the blueprint for Montreal is twofold. Keep the Argos offense off the field as much as possible, right? They can't score 40-plus points if they don't have the time and possessions to do it. Make them a little impatient. 2, you got to wear down this defense. What this defense likes to do better than any in the CFL, turnovers, getting off the field early, getting off the field 2 and outs. They do not want to be on the field that long, right? They like to get to the quarterback. Montreal is going to have to rely a bit on the running game, right? Fajardo, he's going to have to use those legs. And that's something he hadn't really been doing a lot this year. It's something that's dialed back a bit in his game. But I think he's going to have to bring that out because the Argos defense, we've seen in games that they've either lost or struggled, it's when they get stuck on the field. I look back to that Winnipeg game. They had a chance to win that game, but the reason why they lost, Brady Oliveira.
Absolutely.
Brady Oliveira on the field. They couldn't, and Dinwiddie said to me, we need to keep ourselves out of two and long situations, and we cannot let them get those second and short opportunities to keep the chains moving.
The run game, Brady Oliveira, really, he's, as far as I'm concerned, an MVP, and it would not surprise me if he wins it for the whole league. Just an incredible animal to try and bring down. I mean, this guy, you can't hunt him down, because if you catch him, you're like the dog who catches the car. You're going flying. This guy is a beast, and he is the ultimate challenge for any team to try and slow him down. And if you can't, that plays right into the program that Winnipeg has, and that the coaching staff and the rest of the team around. Because the longer he runs and the further he goes, the more time the defense is on the field, and the more opportunity there is for the offense to get within the red zone, and then work their way in. And Caleros is just the perfect quarterback for that, because he can surprise you. So that's what the Argos have to do. They have to stop the run. I think that's the primary thing they have to do. And as far as the passing game of Winnipeg is concerned, they've got a great passing game. But I think that the defensive backs in Toronto, they should be able to stop them. So I keep going back to the Winnipeg running game.
Well, like, you mean Montreal?
Sorry, the Montreal running game.
But yeah, no, you're right, because Montreal has
Steinbach is to the same situation. Not as he's getting back into form. 95 yards last week. Sorry, we got onto Winnipeg, and then I started thinking.
Well, I mean, but at the same time, Montreal was trying to hold on to a lead, and the best way to hold on to a lead is to run the ball, and also to add to their lead, right? Keep Hamilton's offense off the field. But yeah, you're right. They do rely a lot on their. It's funny because they didn't put up a lot of yards, but what they showed is they got a variety of weapons. You can't just say we're going to stop Austin Mack. Well, now there's Tyler Snead.
He's got to have
Tyler Snead. If Argo fans remember, Tyler Snead, I'm pretty sure he had a hat trick. He had a really good game against the Argos in Montreal this year.
Coming out party,
right? Yeah, exactly. Like, that's a player you have to look out for, right? Guys who bring a little bit of speed, right? Argos usually do well against bigger body receivers sometimes, other than Reggie Begelton. But it's the speed factor, right, that they're going to have to really, really watch for. Like Tyler Snead in that game, probably the most efficient game I've ever seen a receiver play. 3 catches on 3 targets, 48 yards, 3 touchdowns. You don't think they're going to try to get him going a little bit? Tyson Philpott among, up there with the Canadian receivers in the game. They got guys who can make plays, and the Argos are going to have to be very disciplined and with what Montreal's going to throw at them. But the thing is, Montreal doesn't have the volume of plays, really. Fajardo has had his inaccuracy issues, and he's going to have to be on. He can't be giving the Argos offense extra chances because he can't sustain drives. He has to find a way to keep that offense on the field.
William Stanback is Brady Oliveira like. He was equal to Brady Oliveira a couple of years ago. Brady went like this, and Stanback had some injuries to deal with, but since the last game, he's proven that he's back. He can be back. So that's going to be an issue where, the Argos are going to have to stop a really tough running game. And, their offensive line, and you heard a guy who watches them all the time, and Mike Hogan, who talks about that offensive line and referred to the fact that they have some depth. So, they can do some interchanging, maybe depending on what they feel they need to have out there to disengage the offense of the Montreal Alouettes. I really like their team as far as I think we finally have seen their head coach grow up, and he has become more composed and not lose it as much. His emotion now, he's using it in his play calling, and I think that's really important. And Montreal's defense, it's the difference maker for this game. If their defense can play as well as they're capable, they will create problems. They'll go after the ball. Now you've got 2 teams here who don't lose the ball that much and get the ball as much and in the league. So it's going to be interesting because they both have the same strength. They don't give up the ball much, and they take the ball a lot. First and second, I think, in the league in those 2 categories. So, that's something to look forward to seeing which team offers ball security as a way of playing.
Yeah, no, for sure. Montreal, They won the turnover battle against Hamilton, right? That's important. That's how a good defense can be a difference maker. We talk about sometimes where defenses bend but don't break. Well, I mean, Montreal's defense didn't really bend that much, but they did make sure that Hamilton made mistakes, right? Three turnovers, if I'm not mistaken, two interceptions. Chuck Kelly is not immune to throwing interceptions.
Oh, we've seen that.
He's been guilty of it a little bit, so that is something that they're gonna have to really watch for.
Absolutely. Let's go to the other game, and that's Winnipeg and BC. We've seen we've seen BC. We've seen two versions of BC this season: the good one and the not so good one. The good one came back to visit to play against an inspired Calgary team. They did a great job of putting them away. Adams had a great game. Their running game worked. Their passing game worked. How good will it be against Winnipeg? This is Winnipeg. I've said all year, even going back to training camp and watching those exhibition games, they have played angry. They really resent the fact that they didn't win the Grey Cup last year, and they've come out of the. They went into training camp with attitude, and I don't know. They may be able to impose their will on BC.
Well, and here's the thing: like BC is not an easy matchup, right?
I don't think so either.
From
I
a
agree.
year ago, this is a team that's gotten better in a lot of ways. Yeah, last year we could talk about Nathan Rourke being hurt and that impacting BC a little bit there, but Vernon Adams, right? The maturity he's taken for Winnipeg, they lost 4 games this year. They in the back couple years, you couldn't beat Winnipeg. They were that dominant, right? Yes, the thing that they have going for them, it's at home. Brady Oliveira, they've got the best running game in the league. They got arguably the deepest receiver core in the league. Although Dalton Schoen is a little banged up, he's questionable heading into this game, and
And a poor
Dembski's
player.
also questionable too. Nick
That one, poor player.
Dembski did not practice, so he missed the first 2 days of practice, Dembski, and he was limited today.
Key
Dalton
player.
Schoen has not participated in any practices so far. He only got one walkthrough practice and both of them are dealing with ankle injuries. I don't know what the forecast is like in Winnipeg, but usually when it's cold weather, injuries like that don't usually work out well.
Ouchies hurt more in the cold.
They do. So they're both officially questionable. I wouldn't have expected Winnipeg to announce them as out. There's a reason why I also think that
Well, they'll have to tomorrow, right?
they'll declare whether they're in the lineup.
Yeah.
There's a reason why Markeith Amble signed. Like I was like, that's an interesting one.
Yeah.
Guess what? Maybe that was for a reason. Maybe they're a little more banged up than we thought. So it's going to be interesting. Health might be more of a factor than I thought it was going to be. But I mean, BC proved last week that they're going to be a problem.
Yes. They Adams again. You've got a guy that has good games and has bad games, and I worry as a BC fan. I worry about the interceptions, and I don't worry about the interceptions except for the fact that when he throws one, he tends to throw more than one. And that's the issue. So if he does throw an interception, he's going to have to recalibrate. He's going to have to stay calm and not throw another one and try to get past. He's very intense. He's a wonderful human being, a great teammate, all that stuff. But he does wear his heart on his sleeve, and sometimes when he throws an interception, it shows. And that's something that Adams is going to have to change. He can't get on a bad roll because that's when he's playing his worst. When he's playing his bad games, that's what happens. He makes a mistake and he compounds it. Well, hopefully for BC, he won't this time.
The big one here for me is you see a player you see a player here that his confidence has always been the big thing for him, right? Is he able to do what is necessary to overcome those tough moments? Unfortunately, that's been the biggest struggle for him, right? He hasn't been able to overcome those moments at times. But this is a player I think that has really shown a lot of maturity this season. And You
He's a
know,
big
he's
play guy too. He can make big plays.
no quarterback in this league has had more 400 plus yard games this year, right? He led the league in passing yards, and he wasn't healthy at times. Right, we knew he was dealing with a knee injury as well. I
Absolutely.
saw now, the only thing I'm worried that could give me pause with BC is it was, I wouldn't say too easy against Calgary. There wasn't that adversity that he had to overcome. That's something he's going to have to work at, right? When things get a little tough for him, can he mentally pull himself out? That's what makes a good quarterback a great quarterback, is when they can overcome a mistake and not let the mistake define the rest of the game for them.
Yeah, that's it's a big deal. Love the way he plays. Wish the best for him. He's had some tough luck in his career. This is an opportunity for him to get someplace. You know, I mean, there's so many storylines here that are hanging. Right? I imagine Adams against Montreal in the Grey Cup. Imagine that storyline. The biggest storyline is revenge. The Winnipeg Toronto thing. Right? That's a storyline that could carry. The writers will have fun with that, but the writers will have fun with Adams against Montreal as well. I think also, I think any of these combinations will be interesting. I think a Toronto BC game would be really interesting too in the Grey Cup. So, and I'm looking a little bit ahead, and I'm just, the wheels are turning when we go to watch that game on Saturday, David. Um, you know, by about 9-10 o'clock, we're going to know who the two teams are, and I really can say this: watching is the only way we're going to find out who's going to win, because nobody's got it figured out. We can all say we do, but really, I don't really know who can win these two games.
Again, I'll say I'm more confident in saying that the Argos can pull this game out, just because of how they've played all year, and the just the level of play that they've played at all year. BC and Winnipeg have been pretty evenly matched, right? Remember, this game could have easily been played in BC if, was it Keon Hatcher, or I can't remember who the receiver was on BC. All you had
Drop
to
the
do
ball.
No, all you had to do was just get down.
Oh yes, get
Go
down so that
down.
they can get
Go
so
down
that
and you
they
kick
can
the
get that
field goal and
last
you win
play.
the game. But
Yep.
he tried to run for the end zone for the touchdown, and then Winnipeg went on to win in overtime.
Yep.
Like the margin is it's very close between BC and Winnipeg, and that's what I don't think people are giving enough credit for. I mean, look, BC hasn't won a Grey Cup since 2011 or
Yes.
13.
Yes. No, 11. You're right. 12 was Toronto. 13 was Saskatchewan. Three
Yeah,
games that were won at home.
there you go. See, I got my Grey Cup encyclopedia here. But that's the thing.
Not really,
That
but
BC market, wouldn't it be nice you win the Grey Cup, or you go to the Grey Cup? Let's say they don't win the Grey Cup this year, but they get to the Grey Cup, they get a chance for redemption
oh yeah.
at home.
Yeah. Hey, look, whoever gets into the Grey Cup, I'm going to enjoy the game,
Yeah,
and us CFL fans will enjoy the game. We might not like the way our teams lose. I mean, but here's the thing: if you're an Argo fan, you had a record-breaking season. You get a chance to play this game at home, win or lose. They've played some awesome football. The Montreal Alouettes. This is an organization starting the year. They didn't have ownership. They got ownership. They lost a couple of players because, quite frankly, the organization was in flux, so they couldn't do anything. You've got Winnipeg. This is a team that, after losing the Grey Cup, not many people, I mean, outside of Winnipeg, who really wants to see Winnipeg in the Grey Cup? Well, the Winnipeg fans make up for everybody else who doesn't want it, because they want that revenge. And of course, BC, who have not been around for a while. And like Toronto, this is a team that's come out from the doldrums. Ownership was an issue. They brought in new ownership. The organization turned things around, and now they're a contender in the Canadian Football League again. So, these are all great stories for each team to make it to the next step. And I look forward to the two teams that make it.
yeah. No, it's this. I'm so like I was excited the first year I got to cover the Grey Cup. I am more excited this time around because it's going to be more open. I just think you're going to see everything to the full potential that it can be. You're going to have really good teams there too. It's going to be a lot of excitement.
And Hamilton's going to get to celebrate a Grey Cup and a Grey Cup Festival the way it's supposed to be celebrated. They had both hands tied behind their back the last time the Grey Cup was in Hamilton. So we're going to get a chance to see that, how good a job Hamilton can do with the Grey Cup.
Yeah, it's going to be great.
That's good to look forward to too. So that's the storyline down the end.
Absolutely.
David, thanks for doing this, buddy.
Thank you, Frank.
He's David Morassutti. You can check out what we've done live on Candid Frank live on YouTube. And please be a member. And you know what else? Enjoy the football that's coming up, folks. Just think there's only 2 more weekends left. I hate the thought. I'm already thinking, is it June yet? Or is it May yet? Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you next.